Welcome to the Cameroon Arise podcast. I'm your host, Ebanga Muriel.
African bad boy, yeah. Mambo Beats. I'm in love with Cameroon. I'm in love with Cameroon. I'm in love with Cameroon. Number one in Africa. Cameroon, land of grace, land of natural things, our fatherland. Hey. Mama Africa, Mama Africa, Mama Africa. Cameroon, it is time to arise. My people arise and shine. My kings, my queens of our fatherland.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Cameroon Arise podcast. I am your humble host, Ebanga Muriel, and I'm so honored to be back with you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate your time and your support here. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And if you're a regular, hey, I missed you last week just as much as you missed me. Life happened. And sometimes life does happen. So I had to take some time to figure things out, but I'm back now and I appreciate you coming back for more. Season 2 is in full motion and we are using this season to arise out of various life problems, both individually and as a people. As we go through life, of course, we go through various problems, we go through various experiences, and sometimes we hold on to those problems, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. We hold on to those things and we continue going through life holding on to those things. But it's better for us to go through life letting them go. And so season 2 is mainly focused on us arising out of those problems and shedding those burdens. Last week we talked about arising out of, well, not last week, 2 weeks ago, we talked about arising out of insecurity. Insecurity is one of those burdens that does hold us back. It creates a barrier from our confidence in ourselves. It creates a barrier from our ability to believe that we can achieve anything. And it's one of those things that the Cameroonian population would greatly benefit from arising out of. Honestly, insecurity blocks your blessings because if you don't even have the courage to ask because you are insecure about yourself, then you run the risk of never receiving whatever it is that you want. So you have to be able to overcome that to be able to go after the things that you want. Also, if you're too insecure about your experiences in life, then you never speak about them enough for others to be able to learn from your experiences. As Cameroonians, we are not made to operate individually all the time. No, we have to be able to be a collective in order to arise to the top, to the greatest potential of the country. And so if you don't know how to talk about your experiences, whether good or bad, then you run the risk of not teaching someone else or not allowing someone else to learn from your experiences. And that's greedy. No, not greedy. It's selfish. Because if you're too insecure to say, hey, you know what? I did this and it was a big mistake and I probably should have never done that. Someone else can't learn from that enough to say, okay, well, let me not do that because this person did it and it failed, or this person did it and it yielded a negative result, so I probably should not do it that way. Let me find another way to do it instead. Those are things that we can use to be able to grow. So if you are insecure about your mistakes, if you are insecure about some of the experiences that you've had in life that helped you to grow and helped you to become better, then you miss out on the opportunity to bless other people with that information, and they end up stumbling into that same problem when you were right there next to them the whole time. Our ancestors were not taught how to talk about their problems. And so they kept those things to themselves. They kept certain things to themselves and allowed their children to be able to run into those same mistakes. And it's not the right thing to do. At the end of the day, parents are supposed to leave an inheritance. And if you can't leave an inheritance of money or wealth, at least leave an inheritance of wisdom. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to see your children or your children's children go through the same problems that you went through as a child. It's horrible. Don't do it. I think the beauty of the information age that we are living in right now is that we can be able to spread our knowledge. We can be able to spread our wisdom. So if we're still living in our insecurities, and we're not able to spread knowledge because we feel like people are going to laugh about the mistakes we made, then what are we doing? Why are you living in this information age to be holding on to all the information for only your good? That does nothing for the world, and you were not created to only impact yourself. You were created to impact others around you. You can't do that by being silent about your experiences. You have to speak up. You have to testify of the good things that have happened in your life. If anything, to give God glory. So, we are a collective, and we have to start acting as a collective, as the Cameroonian nation, the Cameroonian population. We have to be better at being able to speak about our experiences without the insecurity so that others can grow and we can all together grow. It takes people who are brave enough to discuss their mistakes to each other for us to be able to learn and for us to be able to arise within the Cameroonian community. And today's topic touches on this very problem. Today's episode is titled Arise Out of Shame. The word shame is defined as a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by your consciousness of understanding that you did something wrong or you did something foolish. When I began my research, I actually discovered that there are like 4 known reasons for feelings of shame, 4 causes. So the first cause is unrequited love. And unrequited love is when you love someone, but they don't love you back. Because they don't love you back, you feel shame, and that shame is actually what leads to you feeling heartbroken. But it starts off with the shame of not receiving that love the way that you have it for that person. And I'm not only talking about romantically or maybe even in friendship. I also like parental relationships. Some of us grew up with parents that didn't really know how to express their love for us outwardly, with the exception of putting food on the table for us or putting a roof over our head, which is truly the bare minimum that you should be doing for a child that came from your loins. Don't gloat about that. But some of us truly grew up with parents who, did not know how to show us love because they didn't grow up with parents that showed them much love as well. They couldn't teach us something or do something for us that they hadn't learned for themselves. So that's the first cause of shame, unrequited love. The second cause of shame is exclusion, which is the shame that you feel when you feel like an outsider, when you feel like you are not a part of a group. As human beings, we all want to feel like we belong. We are made to be in community. We are made to be in family. We all want to feel like we belong to some group somehow. And when we find ourselves not feeling like we belong, we feel shame. We feel like the outsider. We feel like the outcast. Some of us were not raised by our parents. We grew up with some auntie or some uncle that helped to take care of us because maybe our parents passed away or our parents could not be able to take care of us. Maybe you were the child that was waking up at 4 a.m. to be able to clean the house, cook food, prepare, everybody else's clothes and iron everyone else's clothes and shine everyone else's shoes before all the other children in that house were waking up to be able to get ready to go to school, before the parents woke up to go to work. So you weren't really a child in the family, you were the house help. Some aunts, some uncles, some big mummies, big papas, that's what they do to some children who are not really their own, but they bring them in. You are made to be the house help, even though you are a blood relative of whoever is the head of the household. That can make you feel like an outsider. Your clothes are not as nice as all the other children's because you're not one of theirs. That can make you feel excluded. And so that exclusion is another cause that can cause shame in our lives. The third cause of shame is unwanted exposure. This is when you attract attention to yourself for something that you actually don't want to attract attention for. Like, let's say you're walking past your classmates and you fall flat on your face and now everyone is laughing at you. That causes shame. You feel embarrassed. You feel embarrassed. The last cause is disappointed expectations. This one is when you set a goal and you're unable to meet that goal, or you tried your hardest but you didn't actually meet the goal that you were trying to meet. This one is the most prevalent cause of shame among not just Cameroonians but human beings in general. This is the shame that most Cameroonian youths have in common. The shame of not passing your exams for school, or the shame of not being able to go to university because your parents could not afford it, or the shame of completing university, even up to the master's level, but not being able to acquire a job. And so now you're driving Okada with a master's degree in your pocket. It doesn't make you feel good. It can feel shameful if you truly hold on to it. No matter the cause, shame is a burden that many Cameroonians bear, and it's a burden we all need to learn how to let go of. As a woman, as a Cameroonian, one shame I had to let go of was not being married. Western culture is shifting from shaming women for not being married, but I'm still Cameroonian and I grew up in a Cameroonian household. I grew up surrounded by Cameroonian aunties and uncles, so I know what people say behind my back. I know. The shame of not being married is real for a woman my age. And it comes from many sides too. The men will say, oh, and I'm sure I get that a lot because I've actually been engaged twice in my life. So I'm sure the understanding for some people is clearly I'm too much, and that's why I have not settled down yet. The mothers will say, you do have a strong head. Yeah, I know. Just because I don't want to settle in a marriage for just anyone, all of a sudden it means I do have a strong head. Okay, everyone has an opinion. As women, no matter what we achieve in this life, someone is always going to bring up whether we have children and whether we are married. Just look at Rihanna. Rihanna is an international pop star. Rihanna is a billionaire, not millionaire, capital B, billionaire. She is a fashion icon. She she's actually one of the youngest musicians to own all of her masters. And if you are a musician and you understand how it is when you sign with a record label, you know how big of an achievement that is to own all of the masters of your music, which means you own all of the rights of your music. No one can use it unless they pay you. All of the money from your music is now coming to you, no longer the label that signed you. It's a very big deal. But in the midst of everything that Rihanna has been able to achieve, people still say, oh, why is she not married? Like, so no matter what, as women, we will always be looked at as childbearers because, hey, we're the only ones that can do it. And also, we will always be looked at for whether or not we are married and establishing a family. I'm single today because I feel like a lot of men carry insecurities that I don't want to deal with. You should be able to deal with your insecurities just like I am dealing with mine. And if I see that you don't want to do the work on yourself, then I can only cheer on you for so much. Like, I can only be your cheerleader for so much before you finally have to stand up on your own and arise out of your insecurity. I think that's the main thing that has kept me from accepting marriage so far, because at my age, I'm 32, I'm making good money for myself. Like, I don't need you to come into my life with millions, but I do need you to come into my life without problems. I am not accepting problems. Insecurities will bring problems. Shame will bring problems. I don't want that. I don't want that. So I choose to wait until the right person comes into my life. And I don't mind waiting, but I had to come to a point where I had to shed that shame, because it truly did feel shameful, especially after my second engagement. I started to question myself, what's wrong with me? But after questioning who I was, I went into therapy and I went into trying to figure out what it is that I want, and I shed the shame of not being married. Why? Because if I hold on to that shame, how will I be able to allow another man to come and try to marry me? They keep coming, and I cannot allow myself to be sitting in shame and not allow myself to love. It's going to block my blessings. So arising out of shame is something that I've had to do actively. And every now and then, if someone says something that makes me feel a type of way, I still have to remind myself it's not necessary to hold on to any kind of burden about that, because, oh well, it's not like marriage won't come. It'll come, and I'm not in a hurry. I don't want to hurry into marriage because I want to do it one time and do it the right way. So I had to let go of that shame. And besides, there's many things that God has laid on my heart for me to do even before I get married. And some of those things I have not done yet. So it's better for me to focus on what God is asking me to do than to be crying about how I'm not married yet. No, like, marriage will come, but what's more important is the purpose for which God put me on this earth. I have a child, so I know I can have a child. I'm not barren, praise God. And when marriage comes, it will come. So I leave that in His hands. Carrying the burden of shame blocks your blessings. And one thing I've learned to do is leave myself wide open so that my blessings will be raining down on me at all times. Because that's the life that I choose to live. Have you ever tried to catch something while you're holding on to other things? I'm going to do a demonstration to show you guys what it looks like when you're holding on to various things and how impossible it is to try and catch anything else in that process. So I have some toys here from my son's bin, and we're going to use them. So let's say that this right here, this is shame, okay? Holding on to shame. This right here is heartbreak. It's not really supposed to be heartbreak because it's a cute teddy bear, but it's heartbreak. Just think of it as heartbreak. Holding on to that. This is doubt. Doubt. As some of us like to doubt ourselves like that, this is doubt. Holding on to doubt. This one, we'll call it insecurity, okay? Insecurity. Insecurity. This one, let's call it trauma. Trauma. Holding on to our trauma. The things that we've been through that make us angry. Capital R for rejection. This one is rejection. Some of us hold on to rejection as if it pays us. We'll call this one, I don't know, jealousy. Let's call this jealousy. Because some of us are truly jealous and we like to hold on to jealousy as if it will turn into gold and pay us one day. Oh, but this one is fear. And I made sure that I left this big one to be fear because guess what? Fear is the number one thing holding Cameroonians back. Fear. We don't know how to let go of our fears of many things, and we cradle our fear. Now look at me, guys. Look at how many things I'm holding in my hand. This is how some of us go through life. I learned this from a pastor's sermon a few years back, and it really made sense when he held all those things in his hands like this, and he said, this is how some of you look every day, holding on to your burdens, holding on to your pain. This is how some of us walk around life, like this, holding on to rejection, pain, insecurity, doubt, shame, fear. If someone throws anything at me right now, let's say Obama walks into this room and he wants to give me $1 million, and he has to throw it at me and I have to catch it. How will I catch it? When I'm holding on to all these things in my hand, how will I catch it? The only way to be able to catch anything, including that $1 million from Barack Obama, the only way to be able to catch anything is if I drop everything so I can catch. That's exactly what we need to be doing as Cameroonians. We need to let go of our fears. Let go of your fears. Let go of your doubts. Let go of your insecurities. Let go of the heartbreak. Why are you carrying heartbreak around? Learn to let it go. I know it's hard. Heartbreak is hard. Especially for us women, it's hard. Because you think of all the time, the blood, the sweat that you put into being a good woman, and he broke your heart. I know. I know. But you gotta let it go, okay? Shame. Why are you carrying shame around like this? As if it's going to pay you some kind of money. Maybe if we were football players, you can think of this as shame, but you eventually have to throw that ball to be able to score the touchdown, right? Which means you need to throw that shame to be able to receive glory. And that is a demonstration that I hope will burn into your memory for the rest of your life. Cameroon, it is time for us to arise out of our burden of shame. Yes, the country is not where we want it to be. But if we don't do something about it, it will never change. It will never get better until we, the Cameroonian people, are better. You continue to carry your burdens around with you. You make it hard to receive anything. God is waiting to bless people with ideas, with money, which everyone wants, with families, with friends, with destiny helpers, and you're holding on to all these burdens that are creating blocks away from your blessings. Stop it. It's not helping you. And I had to learn that for myself, which is the only reason I'm talking about it. I may not know firsthand the actual burdens of growing up in Cameroon, but every burden that you hold on to creates the same effect in your life. It blocks your blessings. It slows you down. As I was carrying all those things like that, if Robert came and I had to go save my son, it would be so hard to run and go save him. Why? Because I'm carrying too many things. I would have to drop those things to be of help. Drop your burden simply because it's going to set you free. And when you're free, you'll be able to think better. You'll be able to laugh. You'll be able to enjoy. You'll be able to have a vision for your future. You'll be able to elevate yourself. When you're holding on to things as a burden, they are weighing you down. Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, they are holding you down. Let them go so you can rise. Every Cameroonian is of great importance. We have allowed the colonizer to come in and give us divisiveness, and we have formulated tribalism. So we try to divide ourselves in so many ways, and we try to attack each other so much just because if someone is doing better than you, all of a sudden your shame will not let you rest until you see that person fall and die. How will the country be better? How do you expect the country to be better? Honestly, I wish we could change the name of the country, because Cameroon comes from the word Cameroon, which means shrimp. Njanga. And Njanga is always fighting against their others, right? Just like Cameroonians. We are literally living like the shrimp that we have been named after. Maybe if we change the name of the country, it will actually make a difference. Maybe. I don't know. All I know is the way we are now, where we feel the need to bring each other down based on our guilt, based on our insecurities, based on our shame, we have to let that go. It's preventing many of us from being able to live in our purpose. And if we cannot accomplish our purpose individually and as a nation, then what are we doing? Why are we even here? Your life is worthless if you don't achieve the purpose that you were created for. When you take shame and you mix it with fear, it brings about other negative emotions. You get jealousy, you get insecurity, you get anger, you get greed. People who are greedy are ashamed of the fact that they came from nothing. Yeah. So they're holding on to every dollar and they're making sure that they go get every last dollar that they can, or franc, whatever. Because they came from nothing and they're ashamed of the fact that they came from nothing, and they swear they'll never go back to that life again. But it's based on shame. You don't have to be greedy to be successful. No, there are plenty of successful people that are not greedy. There are plenty of giving people who are still successful in life. People who know how to reach back and help others to elevate as well, instead of only keeping all of the wealth to themselves. You don't have to be greedy to be successful. And if you are, it's because you are ashamed. Let go of that shame. You don't have to carry that anymore, especially if you are no longer in lack. But that's the thing. You can have so much money in your life and still actually be unhappy because you haven't taken care of your internal issues. It is important for us as Cameroonians to take care of our internal issues so that we can be better. And that begins by arising out of our burdens of insecurity, out of our burdens of shame. The interesting thing is that some of the worst people are actually very shameless. It's so weird. It's like you're doing bad things in life. You are a whole criminal, but you're very shameless. It's very interesting. Shame is an unnecessary burden. It's not necessary. And I hope that each and every one of you under the sound of my voice will find the courage to let go of any shame that you have in your life. Take some time to look within yourself. Forgive yourself for any mistakes that you've made along the way. Forgive yourself for the family that you grew up in. You couldn't help your family. Don't hold on to that shame. Forgive yourself for not achieving that goal. Try again. Find other ways to be able to achieve that goal. Because just because you receive one no, one stop towards trying to achieve something does not mean that you should not try again. Except when it comes to asking women out. You guys know how I feel about that one. Don't be repeatedly asking women out. It's not okay. No, but on a serious note, I pray that each and every one of you will strengthen yourselves and let go of any shame that you carry. Let the past be the past. It's past. It happened, but it's back there somewhere. Focus on today and focus on your future. Let it go. Shed that shame so that you can receive strength. You can receive courage. You can receive new ideas that can better and elevate your life. May God strengthen each and every one of us Cameroonians worldwide to arise out of any shame that we have been carrying. Thank you all so much for tuning in to the podcast this week. I am your humble host, Ebanga Muriel, and I will see you all next week for another great episode. If you feel like this message resonated with you, if you like this message, or if you felt like you thought of someone who needs to hear this message, please send it to them. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe, and I will see you all back here next week. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you that you will take the time to assess yourself and arise out of your shame today. So, okay? I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And until next week, bye. This is the Cameroon Arise podcast. We exist solely to enlighten and empower Cameroonians worldwide to arise in faith, arise in hope, and arise in love among each other for the transformation and advancement of our fatherland. I am your humble host, Ebanga Muriel, and I look forward to you listening again. God bless you.
Africa, Mama Africa, Mama Africa. Cameroon, it is time to rise. Show boy, African bad boy. Yeah, yeah. I'm in love with Cameroon. I'm in love with Cameroon. I'm in love with Cameroon.